This video will discuss how to work with reports in the PlantLog software. Now, reports are not available in the mobile app, so in order to access them, you will need to sign in to your specified site address using a desktop web browser. So we will go ahead and sign in now. And once you sign in, here at the top nav bar in black, you can see on the far right you have the reports page. So this is where we'll begin. Okay, so here on the reports page we have two main sections, the left and the right. On the left-hand side we'll list all the reports available to you in your site account, and on the right will be where the report output will appear, as well as where you can manipulate that output or that report. So here on the left-hand side, we have it broken down into three sections. At the top here is the first tab that you will see is selected, and it says All, and it shows a number in it. And so what it's telling you is that you have 18 reports available in your site account, because we're looking now at the All tab. It's going to show all your reports. If you wanted to look at only the reports that you have memorized, which we'll discuss soon, you will click down here on the Memorize tab, and it will show you all the reports that you have memorized for your account. At this point, it's 0. And then finally, you will come down here, and there's a third tab called Scheduled. And once again, it'll open up and it'll show you the number of total reports that you have scheduled for automatic delivery. We'll go over these in a moment, but let's go back to the All tab here and discuss individual reports. So, all new PlantLog accounts come with a set of standard reports that are provided. These reports are generic in nature, and they're designed to be useful for almost any type of facility or operations. And these are listed here. You might also have had us develop a custom report for you that is more specific to your operations. They might do some special calculations or something specific to your needs. Those reports will also show up here in this main list. So basically the All tab shows all reports available to you, whether they are standard or custom. For each report, there will be a row representing it. And there are three main elements in this row. The first one is the name of the report title. So in this case, it's numeric item comparison. Just below that, in smaller text, is a brief description, basically telling you what this report can be used for or what kind of data it will generate. And then finally, on the left-hand side is a report icon. And you'll notice there's two types of icons here. The one we have selected is looks like a white sheet of paper, and it has some black lines in it. This represents a tabular report. And what that means is that this report is going to display data in sort of a rows and columns format. It's basically, think of it kind of like Excel or something to that nature. It's a grid-based report that's going to show the data in a structured format. The next icon you would see, for example, the report below it for the numeric item trend report has a different icon, and this one is showing graphical images such as a pie chart and a line chart. And this is basically indicating that this report is actually going to generate a graphical type chart. It could be several types of reports. You could see in this case it's a line report. Down below we have something called an XY plot, which is basically a scatter plot. There's a variety of graphical charts available. This icon is just indicating what type of report output you're going to see. So once you find a report that interests you and you want to have it generated, you simply select the row for that report, and then here on the right hand side you'll see that the toolbar will populate with a series of selections and widgets that you can use to make your customizations in order to get your output. So this one here that we're looking at is a fairly complicated one. It's not that complicated, but it has a lot of widgets for it that you need to supply data for, and that's for the numeric item XY plot. But if we come down here to the overdue activity reports, you'll see that the selectors have changed, and there's only 2 of those. So each report has their own list of items that you need to input. So let's go ahead and create our first report. Let's look up here at the log exceptions report. Now this report will show you all the exceptions that have taken place in your logs, all the values that are considered exceptions in your logs within a given time period. So for this report, we first need to select the group. This is much like the logs page that we've discussed in other videos. Here you will select the group that you want to target, where you want to view exceptions from. Now you can select a specific group, or you can simply come up here and select all, and that's going to include everything in your entire database. If we didn't select a group here, or the all group, when let's say we select chillers, we could then go down and further drill down to a specific log. So now that we're in the chillers group, we can select the all option again. This will include all the logs in the chillers group, or we can actually focus in on a specific log. So let's just say we want to focus in on chiller number 1, and we only want to look at exceptions for this piece of equipment. Then over here on the right, we simply pick a date range. So it's going to default to past 7 days, but let's go and say we want to look at the exceptions in the past 48 hours. So we do that here, and then this should be enough for us, and now we just go ahead and click the Run button. And here we go. This is the output for the log exceptions report, and it's showing us all the exceptions that took place on chiller number 1 in the past 48 hours, because that's the date range we selected. So this is basically how you run a report in the PlantLog software. Each report is very similar. They only really differ in the selections that you will choose from up here at the top, and of course the output that they generate. One thing to point out is that every time you click the Run button here, the data in the report will get updated. So for example, if you were to run this report 1 day later, so let's say tomorrow, the data that you see here might get changed. In fact, the data that appears here that is from yesterday may not appear tomorrow because it will be outside of the 48-hour time range that we've selected. And while more data might actually appear for other exceptions that might have cropped up since from now till tomorrow. So this is basically how reports are run on the fly or in an ad hoc manner. We're basically going into the software, selecting the report we want, picking the options, and clicking the Run button. Now this is fine to do when you only need to run certain reports very infrequently. But let's just say you're a supervisor and there are certain reports that you need to review periodically, maybe even once a day. Let's just say that you want to do this. You would probably not want to come into the software, select the report, make all the settings, and click the Run button, and do this possibly for several reports on a daily basis. So for this reason, you can actually have reports memorized. So let's just say that you are a supervisor and you need to review the exceptions that took place the prior day. So you're coming on shift today and you need to review the exceptions that took place yesterday so that you may take some follow-up actions or investigate further. So let's go to the same report here, and rather than focusing on chillers, let's just select all, meaning we want to look at all the exceptions in the entire facility. And then rather than saying past 24 hours, let's just say, let's go up to a preset and let's pick yesterday. So that's going to cover all the exceptions that took place the day before. Now let's run this report again. And again, we're going to get the updated information. So this is the report that you're going to want to look at first thing in the morning when you come on shift. Rather than doing all this every day, we can now memorize this report. So to do this, we simply come up here to this toolbar and we'll see the plus button and it says Add Memorize Report. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll click on Memorize. And the first thing we want to do is give it a report title. So if you recall over here on the left, these lists of reports, they have report titles and brief descriptions. So we are now able to give our own title to this report that may be more descriptive than the standard report titles. So given that we're looking at the entire facility, we've selected all, and we're looking at the exceptions from yesterday, we can give a new report title of Yesterday's Exceptions. And that's going to be the report title. So it's going to be much more descriptive than log exceptions, which is just the title for the standard version of the report with no presets already defined. And then in the description, you can give a brief description, and you could say something like, all exceptions from the previous day. So you're basically giving a brief description so that when someone looks at it, in case the title is not sufficient enough, you can actually give them a little more information about what this report will generate. And we'll talk about the rest here in a moment, but let's just go down here now and click on Memorized. And now we've just memorized that report into your site, and what's happened is it's now saved as a memorized report, and it's being automatically selected as the Memorize tab here on the left-hand side. So this report is very similar to every other report. It is actually based off of the log exceptions report. That's the report we had selected when we memorized it. The only difference is that it has this little blue bookmark tab on top of the icon. So it will still show you what type of report it's generating. In this case, it's a tabular-based report, but it's also going to have that blue bookmark on top telling you that it's memorized. And as you can see, a memorized report, the selection widgets up here at the top are now all grayed out because it's freezing these selections and you can't modify them afterwards, but it's saving them for you. So now tomorrow, when you want to come back to this report, you can simply come into the software and click on this report and then simply click the Run button. You will not need to make any selections here in these widgets. You just click Run and it will update that report for you. And like we spoke about before, here is the All tab again. If we click on All, you can see it went from 18 up to 19. So we've now added a report to the list. And since we're looking in the All tab, it's going to show everything. So if we scroll down here to the bottom, we can see here is our newly memorized report. So now let's talk about how to schedule a memorized report. Scheduling a report will simply do the same as memorizing a report, in which it will memorize the settings that you've selected, but you can also have it set up on a schedule so that it can be delivered to you or other users of the software automatically through their inbox, through email. So let's go ahead and try to create another report, and we'll memorize it and then schedule it. So this time, let's go to the Journals Exceptions report, which is very similar to the Log Exceptions report, except this one focuses on journal entries that were categorized as an exception. So we're going to go to this report, and let's pick a journal that we want to focus in on. And let's just say it's the Shift Communications Journal. And then we can pick a category that we want to focus in on, or we could just select all, and it's going to show us all the categories that are deemed exceptions. Okay, and now we're going to pick our date range, and let's just leave it at past 7 days. This is maybe a report that we're going to have a run every Monday to start the work week, and it's going to get sent out to the main shift supervisors so that they can review it. So we'll go ahead and run the report as usual. And then these are the 3 results that were found. These are 3 journal entries or records that were created in the past week that were categorized under an exception. One is a general alarm, one's a fire alarm, and one's an electrical alarm. So let's just say that we want this delivered automatically to the shift supervisors. We will once again go up to the plus button to memorize this report. And let's just call this last week's journal exceptions. And then once again, we could do a description. We could say all journal exceptions from last week. So it's always good to have a little bit of a description here. Descriptions are actually optional, but it's good for anyone who's coming into the software. Maybe your title is not descriptive enough, so you can add more information under the description. So as we did before, we just came down here and clicked Memorize and memorized this report, and all these settings will be memorized. But this time we're going to actually schedule it to be delivered automatically. So to do this, we'll come down to the Schedule section, and just holding our mouse over these labels will give us some help text. And we'll go ahead and apply a schedule. So we'll check off this box, and then we want to say how often we want this report to be scheduled and automatically run. So let's just say every 1 week. So we'll click 1, and then for the interval, we'll pick week right down here. So you can see we can choose from hours, days, weeks, and months. So we'll say weeks, every 1 week. And then we can say starting on. So let's go ahead and pick the first day that we want it delivered on. And we want to deliver it on a Monday, so we'll select Monday right here, the next Monday down the road. Right there, it's the next Monday coming. And then this list here, this box here is going to show recipients. And these are all the users in the PlantLog software. And every user has to have an email address assigned to them. So you can simply pick the users. In this case, it would be the shift supervisors. And these are these 3 people here. And these 3 people are going to receive this report by email every Monday, because we set it up every week, starting on June the 2nd. And that's the date we selected. So we pick these people as the recipient. Then down below we have delivery format. This is where you can decide how this report is going to be sent. And you have 2 options. It can be sent as either a PDF or an Excel file. However, that will also depend on what type of report it is. So if you remember, the 2 report icons are tabular and graphical. Tabular reports can be delivered either as a PDF or an Excel file, but a graphical report can only be delivered as a PDF document because it's graphical in nature, and PDF files really lend themselves to that, whereas Excel, you can't really lay out graphics in an Excel file. It's really meant for text and numbers. So in this case, let's just select a PDF document. And then the last option we here says data only. And if we hold our mouse over, you could see a quick explanation. But basically what this means is that if this report runs every Monday to be delivered to these people, if there is actually no data in the report, you can choose that it will not get delivered to them. So if we were to select this checkbox and there happen to be no journal records with exceptions in the past week, these recipients will not receive an email. So the idea here is to saying, hey, only send me an email when there's actually information to be reviewed. So that's what that is. But if you leave this unchecked, then the report will be sent even if the attached PDF document is actually empty. And that may also be something that you want, because you want to make sure that people did actually look at it and confirm that, yes, there's no information that is critical. So this is an option to figure out whether the report gets delivered based on whether it has data or not. So we've now applied this schedule, and now we'll click Memorize. And just like before, the report is run and it switches us over to the Scheduled tab. And you can see this report here that we've created with our new name. It has the blue bookmark, just like the Memorize report does, because it really is a memorized report. But in addition, it has that yellow bell sitting on top. And that's basically telling us that in addition to it being memorized, it's also set up for a schedule to be delivered automatically to certain recipients. And then once again, we can go up here to the All tab, and that number has went from 19 up to 20 because we've now added yet another report. And you can see it listed here with that bell. If we were to go down to the Memorize tab again, you will see both of the reports that we've created, both the standard memorized report, the first one we created, as well as the memorized report with a schedule. But once you add a certain number of memorized and scheduled reports, you might want to distinguish the 2. So you can also go down to the Schedule tab and see only the reports that are set up to be automatically run and delivered by email. Okay, finally let's talk about how to export a report. So let's go back up to the All tab to look at all our reports. And let's just go ahead and click a pretty simple report. Maybe we'll do logs by barcode. And we'll pick some logs. Let's pick the logs in the chiller group and click Run. And that's just going to show all the logs in that group, and it's going to order them by their barcode. So let's just say for some reason we need to share this with someone who does not have access to the software. We can always export this report. You simply come up here to the upper right corner and click on the Export button right here. And you'll get this simple dialog, and you can pick between PDF and Excel. So once again, it's just like the scheduled reports. You will only be able to export to Excel if the report type that you've selected is a tabular type. If it's a graphical type report, you will only have the PDF option, and the Excel will be grayed out. Let's just say we are going to export to Excel. Click the Export button, and it is now downloaded to your main computer, and someone can open that up, share it with an external party. Maybe you have someone on site that wants to run some further processing on the report, maybe run some macros or formulas on it. But if this is the kind of report that someone is running macros and formulas on periodically or regularly, you really should consider having a custom report developed, because a custom report would actually do those kind of calculations internally and would be listed right here along with the other reports. And that would save the time that person spends however often they do it to run those macros. So custom reports are very flexible. They can do nearly everything you need them to do.
Okay, that's it for this tutorial. Be sure to watch other videos in this series which cover different aspects of the PlantLog software.